This is the story of Medea.
Outside of Jason's adopted house in Corinth, a nurse recounts and laments the chain of events that have led to the present crisis in the city, where Medea's world has turned to enmity. Jason and the crew of his ship began this history by sailing to Colchis, a city in Asia and Medea's home, in search of the legendary Golden Fleece. Medea, a sorceress and princess, fell in love with Jason, asked her magic to help him secure the fleece, and eventually fled with him to Colchis, Jason's home. She continues to ask her magic and to participate in intrigues within the royal house, eventually tricking a daughter of a rival king, Peleus, into poisoning their own father. After exiting sanctuary as exile in Corinth, Jason and Medea had 2 children. However, Jason has abandoned Medea and his own children in order to remarry with Glaucus, the daughter of Priam, king of Corinth. Jason helps thereby to advance his own station. The nurse testifies to the degree of emotional shock Jason's betrayal has sparked in Medea. The long journey that brought her to Corinth has now left her with nothing. Medea's bitterness grew to such a degree that she even despises the sight of her children. The nurse becomes afraid that some vicious plot is brewing in Medea's midst. The tutor shares the nurse's sympathy for Medea's plight, but also points out that the worst news has yet to reach her. There is a rumor circulating among men in the city that Priam plans to banish Medea and her children from Corinth. Medea wants herself to die. Medea curses her own children and their father Jason, ultimately wishing the death and the destruction of her entire household. The chorus, composed of Corinthian women, turn toward the house and address Medea. They try to reason with Medea and convince her that suicide would be an overreaction. The place was Medea remains unyielding and calls on the gods, Deimos and Artemis, to sanction the death of Jason and his new wife. Because Medea's accuses Jason of breaking an oath, the nurse recognizes the gravity of Medea's fate. After the nurse entered the house, the chorus remarked that Deimos, a goddess Medea invoked in her tirades against Jason, has already won over her in the past.
Restraining her grief, showed self-control, addressing the choir in a long speech. She begins by condemning those who quickly judge silent people without knowing their true character. They were forced to become the property of their husband in their marriages. They had to endure the pain of childbirth, and they were forbidden to participate in any form of public life. Medea made a request to the choir that Jason suffer for the pain he caused her as a woman. After hearing Medea's rebuke to Jason, Charon banishes her and her children from Corinth. Charon worries that Medea might use her notoriously clever revenge against him, Jason, and Jason's married daughter Glaucus. Medea begged the king to allow her to stay in Corinth, where she would suffer without objection. Charon is distrustful and indomitable. However, Medea focused on what she had to accomplish the next day, killing 3 of her opponents. She believed that poison is the most effective and she also vows to restore the honor of her bloodline and humiliate Jason's own tribe. Finally, men will be known for cheating, women will be respected, male poets will lose their favor, and Apollo, the god of music, will inspire new epics that show the female perspective. Jason shows up to scold Medea for publicly expressing her killing intent. When she gets manner, she maintains a balanced mind, but she still used the opportunity to tell Jason how she felt. She recounts how she helped Jason pass the test her father set up to win the Golden Fleece. It was the worst offense that Jason betrayed her after so many blows. She asked Jason where she might go after he abandoned her, and she couldn't get back to the father and family she abandoned and couldn't anywhere she makes enemy by helping him. Furthermore, Jason believed that Medea has gained far more from fleeing her home than she has lost. Among her newfound privileges, he included living in a civilized country and a reputation that she would not have gained if she stayed on the ends of the earth. In the end, Jason defended his choice to remarry, arguing that it was the best decision for all parties involved and not a selfish whim. Marrying the king's daughter will give his children a better life. Medea believed that Jason continues to offer whatever help he can offer her. For example, he suggests writing letters of introduction to friends abroad who might be willing to accept Medea home. Medea interprets these symbols of help as Jason's way of alleviating his guilt, rejecting his offer and sending him back to his bride, dedicating a hymn expressing a desire not to be touched by Aphrodite's arrows that torment their target with destructive passion. The chorus preaches against the recklessness of love.
Aegeus, king of Athens, grants Medea as an offering and recounts the story of his visit to an oracle at Delphi, seeking a cure for his sterility. Aegeus was given advice in the form of a riddle by the oracle, who told him not to unstop the wise king's neck. Medea relates to Aegeus the circumstances of her banishment from Corinth, to which he responds by expressing his sympathy for her predicament. Pleading with Aegeus for sanctuary in Athens, Medea offers him a gift in exchange, magical drugs that can restore his fertility. Aegeus seals his promise to offer Medea refuge with an oath before the gods. Alone on stage after Aegeus' departure, Medea screams out the names of the Olympian gods in excitement. The last obstacle to her plans for revenge has been cleared. Because of Aegeus' promise, Athens now stands as an unconditional sanctuary for her, even in her eventual condition as a polluted murderess. The children will be used in a plot to kill gods by bearing her gifts, a beautiful dress and gold coronet, which will be poisoned and kill anyone who touches them. Lastly, Medea will take the ultimate step of killing her own sons. Her revenge against Jason will then be total. The death of his own children, along with that of his new bride, will be the most severe injury he is capable of suffering, even if it means Medea must hurt herself in the process. When Jason returns at the nurse's request, Medea begins to carry out her rules. Announcing a full reconciliation with her husband, she concedes each of the arguments that Jason made in their last discussion and releases the two boys into his embrace. Fully aware of Medea's expressed intentions, the chorus nevertheless hopes that she has actually changed her mind and decides to curb her desire for revenge. Medea once again breaks down into tears when Jason inquires into the source of her weeping. She first responds by saying that tears come instinctively to women, then elaborates by saying that she remains upset about being forced to leave. Determined, however, she asks Jason that he appeal to Quinn to allow their children to stay in Korea. When Jason indicates uncertainty over being able to convince the king, Medea tells him to ask his wife, Quinn's daughter, to make the plea for him. Medea then offers to bring Klaus the coronet and dress as gifts in exchange for her help. She emphasizes that the gifts must be delivered directly into her hands. The chorus laments the now assumed doom of Medea's children. They arrange Jason's bride being unable to refuse the attractiveness of Medea's gifts, a perfect enticement for bringing a young and beautiful woman to her unsuspected death.
The tutor returns with news that the children are reprieved from banishment and that Jason's bride has willingly accepted Medea's gifts. Directly addressing her children, Medea protests against the farewell that she must soon offer them. In a speech to the chorus, Medea wavers repeatedly between abandoning and fortifying her decision to murder her children. Finally, she concludes, "Anger, the spring of all life's horror, masters my resolve," and decides to proceed with the murder. A messenger appears, frantically warning Medea to escape the city as soon as possible. When Medea asks him why, he responds by revealing that she has been identified as the murderer of Korean Anglos, whose deaths have just taken place inside the palace. To the incomprehension of the messenger, Medea accepts the news with composed satisfaction and asks for the details of their deaths. Dwelling on the gruesome specifics, the messenger recreates the scene of the murder inside her bedchamber. Jason's bride overcomes her reluctance to face Medea's children and accepts their gifts at his request. After the poison takes effect, her crown erupts in an unnatural fire and the corrosive gas begins to eat away her skin. She is left a monster unrecognizable to all but her father, who pathetically embraces her in order to die along her side. The palace opens its doors, revealing Medea and the two dead children seated in a chariot drawn by dragons. Impatient, Medea advises Jason to say what he has to say and finish the ordeal. Jason curses himself for having ever read himself to Medea. Jason believes he should have realized her capacity for evil and betrayal when she abandoned her family and homeland, even killing her own brother. Medea has wounded Jason. Jason points out that she has wounded herself in the process, and Medea, while acknowledging the pain her children's death has brought her, finds it a price worth paying to see Jason suffer. Against the protest of the chorus, Medea murders her children. Jason is left cursing his lot. His hope of advancing his station by abandoning Medea and Mary Klaus, the conflict which opened the play, has been annihilated, and everything he values has been lost through the deaths that conclude the tragedy.